When the nights are darkest and the soul is weary beyond words, there's a voice that still whispers, "My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness." My friend, have you ever been so crushed by life that you couldn't even pray? Have you ever wept so bitterly that the tears seemed to dry up and the pain became your only language? Have you ever sat in silence and wondered if God even heard you? If that's you, I've come to tell you today, God does not abandon you in your weakest moment. He steps into it. He does not retreat from your pain. He rushes into it with power. Listen to me now. The world teaches that strength is found in self. Build yourself, love yourself, depend on yourself. But the Word of God teaches us something radically different. It says, when you are weak, then you are strong. Why? Because it is not your power that carries you. It is not your will that sustains you. It is not your ability that delivers you. It is the mighty, unshakable, unfailing strength of the living God. When you can't walk another step, He carries you. When you can't speak another word, He intercedes for you. When you are at the end of yourself, that's where God begins. There are some of you listening right now who have been putting on a brave face for far too long. You smile in public, but you cry in the dark. You walk with your head high, but your soul is bent low under the weight of burdens no one else sees. You're exhausted, you're spiritually drained, you're fighting battles no one knows about. And you're asking God, where are you? I'll tell you where He is. He's right there with you. In the fire, in the storm, in the flood. He's not watching from a distance. He's holding you, even when you don't feel Him. He's strengthening you, even when you can't see it. Some of you have prayed and prayed and feel like the heavens are brass. You've fasted, you've wept, you've waited, and you wonder why the answer hasn't come. But hear me, delay is not denial. God doesn't operate on your schedule. He operates in His sovereign, perfect timing. And sometimes He allows the weakness so that you will lean into His strength. Sometimes He removes every crutch, every comfort, every fallback, so that you are forced to fall into His arms. Sometimes He strips away what you thought you needed, just to prove to you that He is all you ever needed. You may be weak in the eyes of the world, but in the eyes of heaven, you are a warrior in the making. God doesn't raise His strongest soldiers in comfort. He raises them in battle. He doesn't anoint His mightiest vessels in palaces. He anoints them in caves, in pits, in prisons. Look at Joseph. Betrayed by his brothers, falsely accused, thrown in a dungeon. But in the dungeon, God was with him. Look at Elijah, hiding in a cave, depressed and ready to die. But in the cave, God whispered to him. Look at Jesus in Gethsemane, sweating blood in agony. And an angel came and strengthened him. When you're at your weakest, God is at His strongest. You see, strength doesn't come from escaping trials. It comes from enduring them with the power of God. The strength of God is not loud. It doesn't boast or draw attention to itself. It shows up in the quiet resolve to keep going when everything in you says quit. It shows up when you say, nevertheless, not my will but yours be done. It shows up when the tears fall, but you still lift your hands in worship. That's the strength God gives. That's supernatural. That's not human. That's heaven touching earth in your soul. Some of you have believed the lie that you're too broken to be used by God, that your weakness disqualifies you. But let me tell you the truth. God specializes in using the weak things of the world to confound the mighty. He uses the broken to display His beauty. He uses the wounded to deliver healing. He uses the rejected to bring others home. Your scars are not signs of shame. They're proof that grace is real. Weakness is not a curse. It is a canvas upon which God paints His glory. Do you know why God gives strength when you're weakest? Because that's when you're finally willing to receive it. When you're full of yourself, there's no room for God. But when life empties you, when sorrow drains you, when fear breaks you, when you are stripped of everything, God fills you with His power. That's why Paul said, "Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me." Think about that. Glory in your infirmities. Rejoice in your weakness. Why? Because that's when the power of Christ shows up. Maybe you feel like you're in the valley of dry bones right now. You feel spiritually dead, emotionally numb, physically tired, but hear the word of the Lord. Can these bones live? And the answer is yes. When the Spirit of God breathes into what is dead, it must come to life. When He speaks to your situation, what is impossible becomes possible. When He stretches out His hand, what is broken is restored. You may be in a dry season, but the rain is coming. You may be in a midnight hour, but the morning is on its way. And when it comes, it will not be your doing. You will not be able to boast in your strength. You will lift your hands and say, "If it had not been for the Lord who was on my side," you will know it was God. You will testify of His faithfulness. You will praise Him for the strength that held you together when everything was falling apart. You will shout for joy because you remember the nights you cried yourself to sleep, and now you sleep in peace. You'll remember the times you almost gave up, but God held you up. That's the power of His strength. I want you to hear this deep in your spirit. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not powerless. You are a child of the Most High God, and His strength is flowing through you right now. It may not feel like fire. It may not feel like electricity. Sometimes it feels like a whisper that says, "Keep going." Sometimes it feels like peace in the middle of chaos. Sometimes it feels like the courage to take one more step when your legs are trembling. That's strength. That's divine strength. The enemy wants you to believe that weakness is failure. But weakness is the doorway to power. Because when you can't go any lower, the only direction left is up. And when you're on your knees, you're in the perfect position to rise. You see, the devil trembles when a weak believer gets on their knees. He shakes when someone broken begins to worship, because he knows that kind of faith, that kind of surrender, that kind of trust unleashes the armies of heaven. You might feel like giving up today, but don't. Don't throw in the towel. Don't listen to the lies. Don't let despair have the last word. God is not finished with you. You may be at the end of your strength, but you are standing at the beginning of His. And His strength knows no limits. He doesn't grow tired. He doesn't grow weary. He doesn't slumber or sleep. And He never runs out of mercy. He never runs out of grace. He never runs out of strength. You may think your weakness disqualifies you, but your weakness is what draws His strength. You may feel ashamed of your struggle, but that's where He meets you. You may feel overwhelmed by the battle, but the battle is not yours. It's the Lord's. And He has never lost a battle, not one. He's not about to start with you. So don't fear. Don't run. Don't hide. Stand. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. I don't care what the doctor said. I don't care what the bank account says. I don't care what the critics say. I care what God says. And God says, "Fear not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, I will help thee, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness." That's not a suggestion, that's a promise. And when God gives a promise, all of hell cannot stop it. All of man's doubts cannot cancel it. All of time cannot delay it. I'm speaking now to the weary soul, to the mother crying in the bathroom, to the father working 3 jobs and still coming up short, to the widow who sleeps alone, to the young man battling addiction, to the old man haunted by regrets, to the child afraid of tomorrow. Listen to me. God sees you. He knows your name. He knows your tears. He knows your fears. And He is nearer to you than your next breath. If you reach for Him, He will not reject you. If you cry out to Him, He will answer you. If you collapse in His presence, He will catch you. You don't need to be strong to come to God. You need to be honest. You need to be real. You need to say, "Lord, I can't do this without you." And the moment you do, strength comes. It may not come in the way you expect. It may not be flashy, but it will come. In your weakness, He is strong. In your brokenness, He is whole. In your silence, He is speaking. In your darkness, He is light. There is a supernatural strength that only comes through surrender. Not by striving, not by pretending, not by performance, but by surrender. And when you surrender your weakness to God, He will exchange it for strength. Not your strength, but His. The kind of strength that overcomes giants. The kind of strength that parts seas. The kind of strength that defeats death. That's the strength living in you through the power of Christ. So I urge you today, don't quit, don't give up, don't let the enemy convince you that this is the end. God is just getting started. Your weakness is the place where miracles are born. Your valley is the place where victory is shaped. Your tears are watering the seeds of breakthrough. And your surrender is unlocking the door to strength beyond anything you've ever known. Because when you are at your weakest, God gives you strength. And yet, my friends, there are some of you sitting in the quiet corners of life who say, "But I have nothing left. My tears are dried up. My prayers feel hollow. My hope has crumbled." Oh, but listen, God does His greatest work not in the strength of men, but in the ruin of self. That place you call empty, God calls holy ground. That moment you say, "I can't go on," is the very moment the Lord of heaven rolls up His sleeves and says, "Now I will show you my glory." The world tells you to be strong, to hold it together, to fake it until you make it. But heaven says, "My strength is made perfect in your weakness." The power of God is not attracted to performance, it is drawn to surrender. Do you hear me? Not the loud, dramatic surrender, but the quiet groan in your spirit when you whisper, "God, I can't do this alone." And in that whisper, the angels lean close. The Spirit of God rushes in like a mighty river. In that broken cry, all of heaven stands at attention. Because you, child of the Most High, have come to the end of yourself. And that is